Good afternoon, guys. Before we get started, I kind of wanted to review for you who I decided to interview for this assignment. The administrator I chose, her name is Kimberly Cotton. She's pretty much the reason why I got into special education. Ever since I've known her, she has worked in that capacity in some way, shape, or form, mainly in 20 years or beyond as an administrator, as a special education coordinator for the Wichita Public School District. She's also been a principal for Levy, which is a special education center strictly for students with severe disabilities within Wichita. So I thought it would be really good to get her opinion. She's one of the main reasons and supports of why I'm in education. I then also chose for my teacher, Risa Marie Davenport. She is right out of her first year in special education teaching at an early childhood center in Newton, Kansas. I thought she would offer a fresh perspective of being right out of school and what she's expected, what she's encountered, and kind of what she's learned from her first year. And then my para for this interview was Shauna Wenham. She and I have actually worked together for the past 6 years in the same school, Tallgrass Special Purpose Day School in Topeka, Kansas. So she and I have a really good working relationship. I trusted her to give me some really honest feedback, and she has some unique perspectives as well. So the first question about what people know about their child find procedures. My administrator and my special education teacher really identified the child find procedures as they relate to students being identified at a very early young age. The Wichita School District uses Screen for Success, and my special education teacher, since she works in an early childhood center, identified the things that they do through their school. They offer monthly screenings as soon as kids are born, if they choose to, up to 5 years of age. And they identified where these resources can be found. My administrator also talked about kind of the process that goes through a school, where when a teacher sees some concerns, they write down documentation, they go through their intervention process with a school psychologist and their SIT teams to then see if a child will need to be identified for special education or not. My paraprofessional said she was unaware of specific district screening processes, but she does know really how kids come to our building for their behavioral concerns. I mean, she's been around for 6 years and know that if a student is struggling in the middle school or at the high school, there are certain things that the middle school and high school does before they decide to move a child into our behavior school. What do you find to be the most challenging part of their role? They all kind of had something different to say. The administrator mainly talked about having IEPs written correctly, with receiving correct services, whether that be the amounts of minutes or the right placement. That's sometimes the trickiest part, is making sure kids get identified in the correct way. And then their documentation and everyone being able to implement what is going to be best for the child is the thing that can be the most difficult. My special ed teacher identified that sometimes when you're working in an inclusive classroom, this can be the most challenging while you're trying to meet the needs of a whole general population of students, but also having to meet the individual needs of a student who is identified. That can be a challenge. Also, some of the social and emotional skills, and that really leads into the challenges that my paraprofessional deals with. The social and emotional skills, where there can be some verbal or sometimes physical abuse as kids get really angry and want to throw things or want to try to hit at you. And what she really struggles with too is teachers and administrators then, especially with our students with behaviors, identifying correct consequences that happen because of a behavior. If this was a behavior that occurred, how do we address it? And not necessarily giving kids a free pass because they have behavior, so that means that we're just supposed to accept the things that they say and do, right? And my para kind of felt like sometimes that's what happens as we're trying to teach them through their behaviors. It's one of the biggest struggles in our school is how to hold kids accountable, and at the same time teach, change, modify the behavior, and working under the principle that what is fair isn't always equal, and what is equitable for kids and their needs may not necessarily always be seen by everyone as fair. That's something that really strikes as a challenge for her. The most rewarding part, though, this is where they all kind of gave some sort of common theme that I plan on taking with me as a role administrator. It's passion in why you do and what you do. Being able to see the light bulb go on, seeing social and academic growth, student growth, how everyone working together makes that progress come even faster. Being able to make a difference, being dependent upon, and really just being able to see a student go from point A to point B and the changes that they make. And that's why all three of those ladies, I think, are doing what they're doing, whether it's for the long duration of at least 20 years or my special ed teacher who's just now in it. This is the reason why you do what you do. What advice do they have for supervision? Mainly it comes down to being visible, being available, being authentic, realizing that everyone's got a role to play, finding a way to support everyone in that role, not, demeaning or not degrading, not compromising your integrity when you're working with others. And so in order to be a good supervisor, you really should be able to understand what it is that the people under you do, be able to support them, give them a clear chain of command in order to follow, give them the tools that they need and the support that they need to do the job that they need to do. So how do you work effectively with parents of special needs children? Well, as my administrator pointed out, you're not allowed to not work with them. And all parents can be worked with, and they all do want to be worked with. There's really no one parent that stands up there and says, I am here to just completely buck the entire system. If they're standing up and they're giving you a hard time, there's a reason for it. Build the trust and respect with them by being honest and figure out exactly what it is that they're trying to teach you and trying to get you to learn, and be able to listen to them. I kind of learned something from this first-year teacher, too, of an app that she uses to communicate with her parents on a daily basis. And again, it builds that trust and respect and honesty, having that open door policy. But she uses a Remind app that she can type quick notes in that goes straight to a parent's phone, that they get a certain central message that they need throughout the day. My paraprofessional doesn't really work a lot with parents, but we do have some family nights that are school sponsors, and there I've actually seen her be visible and willing to communicate with families and kids, because she considers herself and the kids consider her part of their family too. So she will interact and work together as best she can with them, but it's a very limited interaction. How do you work with regular education teachers? My administrator, I thought, had a very interesting perspective here, where anytime that she co-taught or when she was kind of helping another teacher work with a general education teacher, she would kind of related it as your general education teacher is the expert in the content of the curriculum that needs to be handed out. And yes, that is something that the special education teacher needs to know as well, but really the SPED teacher's expertise then comes into strategic learning. And then I think my special education teacher kind of rolls those two together when they work together on their shared plan time with their early childhood kiddos. And my paraprofessional, she just aims to help in any way that she's possible, any way that she sees possible. She's not afraid to vocalize a student's need or ideas to try and be able to talk with that teacher to collaborate. What advice do you have for a first-year administrator? And lots of different things have come up here. Take it slow from an actual administrator. So don't just try to dive in and make changes all at once. Learn your building, learn your staff, learn their strengths, be able to communicate with them, keep your expectations clear and consistent. My para kind of said the same thing: care for your staff, get to know them and value them, include them, and don't underestimate their abilities. But the quote that I really want to take away from here came from my teacher. She said, "Do not be afraid to be a good leader, but never forget that being a good leader is also being a good listener." In finding out what they describe as their role for special education teachers and building principals, really my administrator and my special ed teacher's results, I think, kind of roll together too. But a teacher needs to kind of know the IEP, be able to advocate for the student, and then the principal's going to take that role and expand on it. Know the staff, know also the IEP, advocate for the programming. So if a teacher knows what a student needs, then a principal needs to know what the entire building needs to be able to support that student as well. My teacher and my para identified things of what both a teacher and a building principal need to do: being able to work as part of a team, listening to concerns, and holding students accountable. What characteristics do they seek? My administrator first said, well, do they even like special education kids? That's something that she would look for. Finding out about administrators and aspiring administrators, because if you don't, they're going to be something that you're going to have to deal with, and how you deal with that effectively really depends on bottom line. Do you care for those kids? But really having passion, being able to be resilient, and investing in the village you are trying to raise. I mean, our school, like my paraprofessional says, is it takes a village to raise a child. That's a motto that we really cling to. So as my future role as an administrator, the things I want to take away from this interview, let me move myself for this last little bit, is being able to communicate. So consult, gather ideas, learn from and lean on everyone else's strengths. I'm not here just to do it by myself. It's more of like coordinating with the team. Having a passion, knowing why I'm working, who I'm working for, learning to love what it is I do. And I already do love what I do, but being able to take that on my next role. And then knowledge, being able to educate myself and others in the best practices that are student-centered and that follow the law. So all three of these ladies, I owe them a big thank you. They've given me some different things to reflect on as I continue down this role of seeking an administration degree. Thanks for watching.